The Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series, often abbreviated as YCS, is a series of tournaments in the TCG. YCS tournaments are the biggest organized tournaments, frequently reaching thousands of players who compete with each other for the title of a YCS champion and valuable prize cards. To top a YCS, the players must perform extremely well over 10 or 11 rounds of Swiss and can't lose more than 2 times. That eliminates lots of variance and allows only the best players and the best decks to advance to the top cut. Very often there is a clear best deck in the format that will make it into the top cut. However, sometimes people are able to top a YCS with a rogue deck or with really spicy tech choices, if those cards fit well into the current meta. There has been a format where people in the YCS top cuts main decked cards from the DM era, such as Trap Hole and Waboku, released in LOB, the first set in the TCG. Even in the DM era, those cards got power crept eventually and stopped appearing in the main decks already in 2003. So how on earth was it possible for people in 2014 to top with those cards when we had much more powerful cards like Dragon Ruler still legal? Well, at YCS Berlin in 2014, with 1208 players, both Trap Hole and Waboku have been a great meta call for this event. In the previous tournament, YCS Atlanta, the most popular deck in the top cut was 4-Axis Fire Fist. The deck relied on a very small Fire Fist engine combined with other cards that go +1 on normal summon if uninterrupted, such as Card KD and main deck 2 or 3 copies of Card KD. However, relying so hard on Card KD is an exploitable weakness of the deck, because it forces the Fire Fist player to give up one entire turn, even though we go +1 in card advantage. At YCS Berlin 3 weeks later, several Fire Fist players recognized this weakness and decided to fix it by adding their own tech cards into the Fire Fist deck, in addition to Card KD, or replaced Card KD completely with Triplex Mermail, which can search a normal Trap Hole trap card on normal summon. Triplex Mermail is a pretty new card, released in 2013, in the middle of the infamous Dragon Ruler T0 format, with Dragon Ruler and Spellbook of Judgment in the metagame. The new released Traptrix cards saw no competitive play at the beginning. However, this changed in next format, in Firewater, due to more banlist hits on Dragon Ruler and Spellbook. But in the September 2013 banlist, there was another game-changing banlist change. Bottomless Trap Hole went from semi-limited to limited. Bottomless Trap Hole is overall the best search target for Traplex Mermail. Now, decks that want to use Traplex Mermail can't just run 2 copies of Bottomless Trap Hole anymore, they need an additional search target in case you draw Traplex Mermail and Bottomless Trap Hole together, or you top deck Mermail after you already used your Bottomless Trap Hole. In 2014 the gameplay was much slower compared to current Yu-Gi-Oh! Games usually lasted 10 or more turns, and the probability of top decking dead cards is much higher in such slow formats. Therefore, people had to come up with a solution, and the easiest solution is to play another normal Trap Hole card as a search target for Traplex Mermail. There were a couple possible search targets in the card pool. The most promising one for the Fire Fist mirror match, the most common matchup, is the OG Trap Hole. Fire Fist heavily relies on normal summons, and if they lose the normal summon Bear or Wolfbug to Trap Hole becomes almost like a turn skip for one entire turn. While the deck can play around other normal Trap Hole cards such as Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare by just not using the effect of XYZ's monsters immediately on summon, there is no good way to play around the OG Trap Hole. The only possible counterplay might be 5 Formation Tensu with another Beast Warrior to summon, or Forbidden Lands. While many people considered or still consider the OG Trap Hole a bad meme, the card has proven to be a successful main deck choice at YCS Berlin. Not only one, actually 2 Fire Fist players made it into the top 8 using the Trap Hole. Luigi Kira Alisi reached top 8 with 2 Mermail and 3 normal Trap Hole trap cards in the main deck, including 1 Bottomless, 1 OG Trap Hole and 1 Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare. Matthew Mills advanced even further into the top 4, with his list containing only 1 Mermail, 1 Bottomless and 1 OG Trap Hole.
Only 1D Prison because I wanted to make room for other cards such as this, Trap Hole, too strong. Actually put in quite a lot of work. I did side it out in the games where I didn't want it. There was times when I opened this, and this, and I was like, oh, yeah. But I'm not going to play another Trap Hole, but I'm not going to cut it either, so yeah. I'll play that.
His YCS result was good enough to win a potential super rare copy of the YCS prize card, number 106 Giant Head, in the match for 3rd place. Receiving YCS prize cards with Yugi Kaiba cards like Trap Hole in the main deck seems so unreal and absurd for 2014 Yu-Gi-Oh! But actually happened. The trend of Trap Hole in the main deck continued, and other people copied this tech into their own decks. At YCS Sao Paulo, another Fire Fist player topped the YCS with a decklist pretty similar to the deck of Matthew Mills. 1 month later, at YCS Chicago, Christopher Gonzalez reached top 32 with 2 copies of Trap Hole in his Gadget main deck. Also in the Firewater format retro community, a couple other players topped an event using the Trap Hole either in Gadgets or in Yu-Gi-Oh! So Trap Hole is not a bad gimmick that was only successful at one specific event. The card remained a reasonable tech choice for the rest of the format and remains a playable card even in the current iteration of Firewater. Another LOB card that performed extremely well at YCS Berlin is Waboku. Like Trap Hole, Waboku is a staple in Yu-Gi Kaiba and Critter format but disappeared from the meta once better trap cards were released. So what exactly made Waboku successful at YCS Berlin? There are two main reasons. The first reason is, Waboku is a battle trap that is chainable. On the other hand, Mirror Force is not chainable. For this reason, Patrick Coburn, one of the greatest players of all time, side-decked Waboku in his YCS Atlanta Mermail deck to beat other Mermail players in a mirror match by chaining Waboku to Atlantean Marksman.
The last two cards were two Waboku. This is mostly from the mirror match of Heretics because they can OTK you. Or they'll try and OTK you and then when they can't do it, you just Waboku and then like they've committed everything to the field so then you're in a good position.
This application of Waboku in a Mermail side deck 3 weeks before the YCS Berlin proved that Waboku may be viable, but they did not convince the entire player base to run Waboku over Mirror Force in future events. There is a second reason why people chose to play Waboku over Mirror Force despite the advantages of Mirror Force. Certain decks value protecting their own board and life points higher than clearing the opponent's board with cards like Mirror Force. Those decks are Insector and Chainburn. Many people are probably unfamiliar with the Insector deck, probably at YCS Berlin too. So let me explain what the deck does. Insector is a ramp up combo deck that tries to OTK the opponent with a 2.5 card combo of Hornet, Dragonfly and one extender. The OTK is pretty scary because the deck is able to clear the board of the opponent while performing the combo, therefore doesn't have to care about Mirror Force from the opponent. But the Insector strategy has one major problem. Both combo pieces, Dragonfly and Hornet, are limited in Firewater. Therefore the deck has to set up the combo over several turns. For example by using Centipede and Ladybug to search the missing combo pieces. But Centipede has only 1600 attack. Any 1700 attack monster like Mermail Abyss Sturge could just attack over. Therefore, the deck has to rely on battle traps to prevent it and is choosing Waboku as the preferred battle trap. We have to keep in mind that Firewater has several in-engine backrow pops. Fire Fist has Gorilla, Mermail has Atlantean Marksman, Spellbook has High Priestess and Wisdom to beat the Mirror Force. Yugioh has Ghost Trick Alucard in the extra deck. Heretic Ruler has Heretic Dragon of Su and the Wingbeat of the Giant Dragon to pop a potential Mirror Force before the battle phase. And here is where Waboku shines, which can be chained in response to those cards and allow Centipede or Dragonfly to survive, stay on the field for one more turn and OTK the opponent in the next turn. Theoretically, you could also play Threatening Roar for the same purpose, but Waboku has a small niche over Threatening Roar. It can be used in your own turn and isn't restricted to the opponent's turn. That means you can declare an attack with Centipede on the opponent's Bear, Wolfbug, Abyss Spike or Mermail. All of them have 1600 attack and would crash with each other, but you can prevent it by flipping Waboku in the battle step and use Waboku to support your own offensive plays, while Threatening Roar is restricted to defensive plays only. And there are also other, less obvious applications of Waboku in the Insector deck that Kimonas used to reach top 32 at YCS Berlin.
I didn't use Threatening because Waboku can be good with Tyras.
Oh, yeah.
Now the last round I played against Chambered and it was better than Threatening because I changed it to his trap that I take the battle damage.
Ah, yeah, true.
Tyras, Keeper of the Genesis, allows you to pop one card of the opponent at the end of the battle phase if Tyras battled with a monster. Insector can summon Tyras pretty easily by increasing the levels with Ladybug. For those reasons, Waboku remains a staple even in current iterations of Insector in Firewater format. Waboku may be even stronger in a Monk build that can set up the Insector combo with Lavalval Chain in the first turn and then stack the threatening Dark Armed Dragon in the following turn if it can protect the Lavalval Chain against bigger monsters. However, there is one major downside. Waboku is worse than Threatening Roar in a Gladiator Beast matchup. But Gladiator Beast is not a common matchup that you need to fear in a YCS during 2014. Besides Insector, there is another deck that significantly benefits from having chainable traps, Chainburn. This deck wants to build up chaining 4 or 5 and resolve accumulated fortune or chain strike for a large amount of burn damage. Therefore the deck relies on chainable traps including Waboku. Florian Hoffmann reached top 16 with his Chamber deck that main-decked Raw and side-decked Waboku. Another Chamber player, Bjorn Schulze, reached top 8 with his Chamber deck and took a completely different approach. He realized the huge engine overlap between Chamber and Insector and put 15 cards into his side deck that allowed him to smokescreen into a deep draw Insector deck by taking out those burn cards and replacing them with Insector cards while keeping Waboku in the deck. He expected his opponents to side out their disruptive cards against combo decks like Insector and side in more anti-burn cards like Trapstun or Royal Decree. Insector could just pop the Royal Decree with Hornet and blow the opponent out completely post-side. Smokescreen side decks have been more common in GX formats, for example DC Oberon, but have become more rare in the modern formats. I found a Labyrinth decklist with Temper Dragon Smokescreen side deck in the current format, but in general those Smokescreen side decks are pretty rare, so I'm glad that someone was able to pull off the strategy in Firewater by using Threatening Roar and Waboku in a Chainwind deck that might become an Insector deck post-side. And that's it. I hope you can understand the metagame at YCS Berlin in 2014 and the reasons why both Trapple and Waboku were so successful in this tournament and carried some players into the top cut of a 1200 person event. Sometimes creativity in deck building pays off, and sometimes it could be worth testing cards that seem weak on the surface, while everyone is underestimating their true potential, especially in a format like Firewater, which is extremely balanced and allows many rogue strategies to be viable. I think Firewater is one of the greatest retro formats of all time and deserves more attention. If you want to learn more about Firewater format, check out my other videos on his channel. Also, if you enjoy this style of content, make sure to like and subscribe, it helps me a lot. Have a nice day, see you in the next video, bye!